This is the Berlin Historical Commission open meeting on September 8th. Original start time at 11:30. It is now 11:48. We have all three commissioners present and our guest, Dan Barton. Let's take attendance. Barry,
Yeah,
Janet,
Here.
and June here, and Dan, our guest, is
Thank you.
present. Yes. Okay. I sent out a little email this morning just to recap what I thought we had accomplished from our last meeting on the 25th of August. And I don't know if, well, Dan didn't get a chance to see it, I'm sure.
No, but I'm opening it right now as I'm
Okay.
talking to you, so.
Unknown caller.
And it's probably similar to what. Okay. June, do you want to walk
Sure.
through it on your
Yeah.
side?
Yeah. The first three items are just communications on my end. One is I expanded our alphabetical list of organizations in the Dropbox, that contact spreadsheet that I originally started. And that lists groups and individuals alphabetically, which is not what we want to end up with. So then I started another alternate spreadsheet that is organized by subjects or tasks. And that's not totally filled out, but we can do that when it's appropriate. And then the third thing is that I thought about our archaeological protocol.
Unknown caller.
Once we have construction going on, and I think at least generally, I'd like to have any artifact or feature that is found reported to me, and unless and if I'm not going to be around, then I'll amend that, but just left in place until I can document it. I don't know if that's too strict or not, but that would be the best protocol if we could manage that.
well, and the other thing is that can be modified as we modify our situation. If
Yeah.
we get an archaeological person involved directly, we'll modify it based on that.
Well, I also had another thought, and that is that your comment, Barry, that the site as a whole is at risk. It's not just a few feet around the foundation, because
Mhm.
the place is small. The site is small.
Very small.
So it may be that I should, maybe not right now, but soon, maybe I should get Al Smith, who is my contact with the company that he works for and with Mass Archaeological, to come and look the site over, especially that area that could have been another addition to the building. And because we don't have to pinpoint, your point was that we don't have to pinpoint certain areas except maybe that one, because the site is small and needs oversight.
Yeah, and I would imagine, I mean, my concern here, just to weigh in on this, was that I wanted to make sure that there was a heightened sensitivity to potential archaeological importance, and also that we had a script or some sort of direction relative to that and chain of communication and information. I would imagine that the type of thing that you just mentioned, June,
Yeah,
would be a component on the agenda of a pre-construction meeting with anyone who we have doing work out there, and we'd walk the site and show where we have concerns, right?
okay.
But just high level, I think it's good that it's always a topic that comes up, because I would not be in the least bit surprised if we find some interesting things when we do any work out there. And if we know we're doing foundation work, which pretty much I think that's a foregone conclusion, that we're doing foundation work,
That's right.
that's when we're going to potentially discover something. So just my thought.
And then under site preparation, Austin Design followed through, and that site survey was placed in the Dropbox, and I
Yep,
did send it to
great.
Dan. He was
Yep,
able to
yep.
access it. And then Ross Associates, I contacted them and then followed up. And when I followed up, Kevin Conover said that it would be great to have Dan send him a scope of work, which Dan.
Yeah, so hopefully what I put together was useful and that it made sense to everyone. I was just trying to keep it simple.
Yeah, well, I did call him early this week, and he confirmed that he received it. He's a little busy, so he says he said he didn't really get to review it completely, but he's on it. So.
Okay,
we
yeah,
should-
and frankly, I didn't think it was a very heavy lift from their perspective because they already have survey work started. They've got their own benchmark and control points. I do think it's worth getting some existing condition confirmation on the two edges of our Bullard House site that abut work that was done for the Old Town Hall project. And then what I added to that is, I'd really love, the threshold elevations and floor elevations at some key points, because what we tend to find more often than not is that, a back door and a front door might not be exactly the same. And that if you're planning some work in the site, but I think we also need to recognize that if we're stabilizing the foundation and lifting it up and making repairs, we have some ability that is, if adding 6 inches to where the house sits, and then we work our grading and things around it, works to our advantage, we should do that. I don't think that that's going to dramatically change the appearance or the, authenticity of the way the house is on the site.
Let's see. So, and then ongoing, we've continued. We didn't actually get to the Bullard House this last Monday because Barry and I had an imaging project that we did at the town hall for high priority artifacts. So we had to do one thing in favor of the other, but we will be back there on Monday, and the progress we made is good. We feel good about it. Yeah.
That's excellent. And what I was going to throw out to the group today, and before I send the wrong date, I now know when I'm going to be in the area. And I was going to suggest that we have a meeting and a walkthrough on site, and it's not too far away. So I am actually conducting a public meeting in the evening in the town of Oxford, which is not too far, on the 28th of September.
Okay.
So I thought maybe earlier that day, if we wanted to connect. I don't know if that's a good day for everyone.
What day of the
And
week is it?
June, I
That's-
remember
that's-
you were traveling, but
Yeah, but I'll be back.
I have to go get my calendar.
The 28th is a Thursday.
it's
No,
I think it's a
no,
Wednesday.
it's a Wednesday. I'm sorry, it's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, and we've often been talking on Thursdays, but
I can do that day for sure. I do have one appointment in the mid-afternoon, but that's an appointment that could be deferred.
okay,
Oh.
and I can be a little flexible with time. And I'm just thinking that the couple things on my list would be with the benefit of all of you, let's walk around and talk about some of the elements and some of the things that I've questioned and that are on my list, that we would want to incorporate in the plan. I think we could do a little bit of visionary planning, and with all of your help, anything that we wanted to measure or grab to amend those plans that Barry dropped off at our office, you all could be at the other end of my tape measure and help me out with it.
Okay.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
We're regularly on site, at least one or two of us on Wednesday afternoons anyway, so.
Anyways, okay.
Yeah.
So Barry, what time do you usually do that?
Oh,
2 to 4,
at your convenience.
but it doesn't
Okay.
matter, yeah.
Yeah, my day's open.
Okay. So why don't we just tentatively say 2 to 4?
Okay.
Sometime in that time frame, and as we get a little closer to it, we can all tweak it. How long will it take me to get from Berlin to Oxford, do you think?
45
hour?
minutes.
I was going to say to Thompson, it's like 35 minutes. So I'd say half
Yeah.
hour. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's about right.
and
Okay.
maybe a little less depending on how fast
Could
you
be,
drive.
could be a little less.
Yeah. it could
And
be
I
a
did
little-
not know until I started working on something for the town of Oxford that that's where Clara Barton is from.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you can see,
know.
let's see her house too. She
You
said.
know, obviously, relation with the name, although I don't believe I'm related to her. But there was that wonderful new mini series that's featuring her. I don't know if any of you have seen it.
Haven't.
The Gilded Age.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't see
No, I
that yet.
haven't.
Yeah, it's really very, very well done. I won't give it away, but Clara Barton, shows up in that. Anyways, back to Bullard. So that was something I thought we could work towards because it's not that far away. And I knew I'd be in the area, and I was looking for a time where we could connect in person because I thought that would be useful. I also did take the time to read through the work that you had done on the vision statement,
Mhm.
which I think is great. There was June, there's a footnote in there, at least on the version that I saw that was in the Dropbox, where there was something that Barry had also worked on but hasn't been put in there yet.
Yeah,
no.
it was, was it under,
So I'm completely doing this off the
Yeah.
the top of my head at the moment. I just remembered that there was something in there.
I think it's in the second paragraph.
I-
Oh, yeah.
That he had a couple of notes and I didn't have access to them, but.
Yeah, I just remember you saying there was a note in there, so I just thought I'd bring that up. And
Okay.
also, I didn't know if you all had a little bit of time outside of meeting with me to play with looking at that schedule I put together.
I made it big.
Yeah,
No,
So
Big
I-
is good.
big-
I did the same thing because our eyes are getting old.
Oh, listen, we have a construction crew working, on this addition we're building up here. And they're all walking around with these 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper.
Yeah, yeah,
I have to put my glasses on to look at the 24 by 36 paper.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
these, young kids are out there
I'm
just
with
thinking it's
ya.
crazy. Yeah.
Here's mine. Just so you know, we're telling the truth. I'll show you mine. See?
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind everyone, I took a stab at that when putting that together,
Yeah.
and I think we should continue to tweak it and move it around. It's a simple Excel file. You all can do it. I'm happy to go in there and do it. But if we're going to use it as a bit of a roadmap and as a guide, then we should make sure we feel like it's accurate. There are certainly parts in it that will populate as we get more information.
But it jangles us to make sure we're dealing with things in some kind of reasonable order.
Yeah, and it's also great to throw Post-its on it and check things or add things to it. So so those are the things that were on my mind. 28th, the fact that I did read through the vision and to make sure that we're staying on top of schedule.
Let's see, with the administrative tasks, I think we've done all we can do at this point.
Yeah, in June, I do owe you that letter, and I'm sorry. It's down on my list of things that aren't critical or holding up anything at the moment.
Now, I did get an invoice. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, but I was gonna just throw you officially so that you had
Oh,
an hourly agreement from me.
okay.
Oh.
Yes, maybe they'll
It
ask me
should-
for that.
Okay. Like I said, it's on my list. I've got a number of Post-its in front of me of things I need to get done, and that's one of them.
Sounds like you're busy.
As I said to June in a note this morning, I'm
Yeah.
putting together a big planning board application, and it's involving a number of people, but the part that my office is supposed to do got a little bit dumped in my lap a couple
Oh,
of days.
dear.
Yeah.
Somebody else was supposed to do
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah.
yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But busy's good.
Yeah.
The pre-planning phase, I think we're on track so far.
I sent, just while you're looking ahead, June,
Yeah,
I sent Jen Doherty, what is her actual title, official job?
Well,
She works
She-
for Mass Historical Commission.
She deals with local commissions. and-
Yeah,
And
she's kind of.
is a contact point for local commissions in all kinds of actions and questions.
Yeah, so I actually have just sent it to you, Barry, in June,
Mhm.
to just proofread it and make sure I've got everything right on it. But just some of the things, the questions we had for her, a lot of them pertain to just the grant and that sort of thing, but that, we'll see.
I commented on that
Oh,
letter
good,
and sent it to you
Good.
and sent the changes in blue if you want to
yeah.
make changes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. But that we thought in terms of, thinking about our database and all, we thought that having some of those folks involved too is important. And
Yes.
the other person I'm going to try to snag is now the president emerita of Historic New England. And I worked with her at Sturbridge
Ooh.
Village.
Jane
Jane, yeah, Jane.
Nylander.
Yes, thank you. All of a sudden I got
I
it
know
right.
that name.
Oh,
Jane,
sure.
yeah, I would think you might. Jane
Everybody
Nylander,
knows
yeah.
that name in historic
At least
preservation.
I can't place where and how, but I know the name.
Yeah, well, she is now in her 80s, I think, but I worked with her quite a bit on some of the projects that we were doing at Sturbridge Village. So I thought, hey, what the heck? Let's get some bigwig on the on our list. I have no idea whether she will respond to it positively, and but I just basically said to her, if we should have some questions come up, just small questions come up, would she be able to help us with some of the design questions? And of course,
Mhm.
she's done a lot of work now with social history, which is kind of neat too. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there, drop that name and say, hopefully she'll remember that I covered her tail a few times too. No, she didn't need her tail covered at all, but having somebody who supported what she was trying to do, I'm sure was,
She's a top person in all kinds of things.
yeah, very talented.
As head of Historic New England, she obviously is familiar with restoration projects and all that kind of thing and property care. But she also is much hailed as a researcher in daily life,
Yes,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
people live, how people spent their time, but the things they had in their homes and how they used them. She really has done a lot of work in that area, and her cardinal book on that, I've got a copy upstairs,
Yeah.
is really fascinating.
Mm.
I'd love to be able to engage her with a couple of the questions that I think are going to come up. And one of them is, if we want to show the history of that house over its whole life, which is so interesting, we just have to do that. But
Yeah.
we also want to be able to create some period rooms so people can get the feeling of what it would be like to live in those time periods. How do you bring those two together? And I think that's the kind of thing that Jane might be really, really helpful with, if she's willing to. I mean, I don't even know if she's got time to
Mhm.
help us, but it might be kind of nice to reunite with her. I always enjoyed working with her.
One of the things that we still need to do is to pull the stuff out of the preservation plan about room use and potential ways that we would use each room and interpret each room. And I need to pull those things out and get them into a more compact document. And that's the kind of thing that her reaction, I'd want to
Yes.
pass that in
Yeah.
front of her for her reaction to that.
Yeah, and that's very much feeds right into the architectural program,
Yeah.
so that we're
Yeah.
doing things properly. I mean, we've
Exactly.
alluded to that in our plan. Yeah, and that is an interesting question, Janet, about getting insight as to how you creatively combine those things.
Mhm.
I have a picture in my mind's eye, but she may have a methodology that is very useful. I think about places like Strawberry Bank,
Yeah.
that's effectively done this, and yet it on the exterior, the buildings are all very cohesive and hold together, but each one has been taken, to a place of a specific time, and it works really well. but it's easy when you're going into building and into other buildings.
Mhm.
When
Yeah.
you're in just one single small structure, how do you do it in a way that it feels like it holds together?
Yeah.
And Jane was the president of Strawberry Bank for quite a while, so that, it's kind of right
Yeah.
up her alley, right up her
One of the
alley.
places she's worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
There are, I'm just looking at our workflow chart, and it seems to me that some of each thing, maybe not towards the last three categories, but it seems like our site preparation is tracking pretty well. But our marketing there's just one little thing that's happened, and that is that Powder House News paragraph that was just came out actually on September 1 or 2. And that's just the beginning of reaching out to our community to let them know what we're doing.
right.
And then I listed a few things. One was that Instagram that I already mentioned. One is to have a presentation at 19 Carter in the History Matters group, which we have there. And Barry already mentioned the Facebook page that the society has. The society has a newsletter, which is a print, for older people, is a print way to be informed. And what else is here? And then to create a blog once we start doing things. And
We do have the town website too, which might be a place that we could start. I think I was talking to my son who is living on the farm too, and he has done some marketing stuff, and he said that his big recommendation for us, he knows the three of us pretty well, is to start with something we're comfortable with and can do well, and then kind of stretch out into some of these more contemporary things that we may not be that comfortable with. But he said the town website is probably a really good starting point too. And then you can always have links that get them into other areas,
Right.
once they get on the town website. So, and there are others like
well,
that. I think you've already
I mean,
mentioned.
the Historical Commission has a page,
Yes. Yeah.
but and I suppose you could link a blog or other things, or even a short article to that. Would they
Well,
allow us to do that?
Oh, absolutely. We can put a lot
I
of
think
stuff on there.
they certainly would. What I want you all to think about though, and that's why I thought that we should be putting together, a marketing outreach or communications plan, is that, and I agree with having links on the website, but that's requiring somebody to go onto the website and to start looking for it. I want us to get the benefit of getting the word out all over the place, where somebody's going to just receive it directly or happen upon it more easily than having to search on the website. So that's why I'm assuming that the town uses Constant Contact to notify, if there's something going on with town meeting or if there's a change in the schools.
I don't know about that one.
I don't think they
Okay.
use Constant Contact. I know what that is because my church uses that, but.
Right. So I want us to think about, the different ways that people get information nowadays, and sometimes not accurate information, but we'll make sure ours is. But the, whether it's the Instagram or I can tell you, my wife and I are not on Facebook, but a lot of people are. I know that with this other organization that we've talked about, that I'm involved in on the board, what we ended up doing is, because it's, we're all of a generation that this isn't what we do for Second Nature. And we ended up hiring an intern who's in a marketing, program at a school, for PR and all that, and gave them an internship for 2 months and let them set up things like Instagram and Facebook and Constant Contact and all of this, and our job was to come up with what was the messaging that
The
we wanted
content.
Mhm.
Yeah,
in each one of those, right?
I think
We
that
have
would be a great idea to have an intern.
we
Uh,
have a presence in Facebook for the society, the
Well, there you
Historical
go.
Society. And the gal that's doing it, considerably younger than we, is also happens to live next door to the Bullet House, mind you.
Well, there you go.
Obviously very interested. And I know we can get, she can put stuff up anytime for us.
Mhm.
And that goes on Berlin Art and Historical Society there. But almost anything that gets on that gets tied up into Berlin Neighbors Connect
Yeah,
or another one or two things that exist that gets to a broader public too. So
Right.
usually anything that gets there gets, somebody will comment and it'll get into the other place as well.
Right.
And we've really gotten some tremendous response in terms of people accessing those things that she's posted from the society.
and
I have no question but what that'll work well for us.
I wonder
Yeah.
how much more time she can afford to. She does have, a youngster.
Well,
or-
y-
yeah.
we may need to develop it further, but initially we've got something established that'll work.
Yeah, and to that point, I also, I want to be able to track it, because when it's simple, and my office tracks things all the time, from a marketing perspective, but I think about the fact that we just sold my dad's house. The realtor had this entire plan for marketing the property, and then about a week and a half into it, she sent me these stats that said, I've had this many hits on, the Instagram, this many on the Facebook. Here's how many people double clicked. Here's how many people looked at this image. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then you can take that information and use it to your advantage. But at the same time, I think you never want to be, all in one approach, because there's plenty of people that, frankly, $20 sign from Staples that's out on the front lawn of Bullard, and that just shows up every now and again that says, hey, we're doing things here. That also gets some traction,
Oh, sure.
right? As people drive by, just like the display at 19 Carter, that maybe we do something where we get the school involved, a certain age group, and then that gets back to the parents. And I don't know what the plan is. I just think it's a critical component of the success of this, getting some excitement around it, and also, potentially building a base for support, whether that's volunteers getting involved, people wanting to use the building for some sort of a program or display, or fundraising.
Dan, I was wondering, when we have the database,
Mhm.
and maybe these guys know this already, but how do we, can you just put people's names on it without them knowing you've put their name there? Or is there some protocol that one uses?
That's a really good question, Janet, and it's not my area of expertise.
Yeah, yeah.
If we have the information, I'm imagining that, there could be, and that's why I'm thinking of Constant Contact, that, you send out a note just saying, we're excited to announce that things are happening at Bullet House, and, it affects everyone in town, and, we're eager to get volunteers and get thoughts, or whatever the messaging is. And that's an ability right there to say, at the bottom, if you're not interested in this, unsubscribe.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So we're
Right.
not putting on addresses and phone numbers and things.
But
We-
our
But
database is
we're
private
never
thing.
doing that. When you send out a
Our
Constant
Dropbox.
Contact, as a recipient, you don't get to see who else is on it. And you're
Yeah.
certainly not putting anyone's personal,
Contact information.
right?
Well, and- Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I was gonna say, I've also been involved in efforts for fundraising where, fundraising consultants, have an ability to access databases that has all of our information.
Oh,
And it
sure.
could be because,
Oh,
we, any one of us donated, $15 to, the Antiquarian Society, and all of a sudden now you're on a list. Certainly when you do it politically, it's very public. But I was amazed at, for the community school I was working with, we hired a consultant and it costs some money, but we got a list. This list actually showed individuals that might have significant capacity for donations.
Who's got an investment portfolio of six
Right.
figures? For
Exactly.
instance.
Yeah,
Right.
those are the ones we
Right.
want.
Exactly.
And the other thing that my son James said was that when I asked him, how do we secure our list if we want to secure our list in some way? And he said that he knows a number of ways that can be done. So apparently that's just a standard
Sure.
practice if you want to do that.
Right, but I think that you keep on building the list. It could be as simple as my office now. It saves postage and paper. We send a holiday greeting and we send it through an email blast.
Mhm.
Somebody at my office tracks which ones of those bounce back.
Yes.
So whose email address is in, or for the list, there's a small group of actual cards that are sent out. It's to family members of people in the office. That somebody also tracks what comes back in the
Mhm.
mail. So I think that, like any good marketing effort, somebody's got to own the process and keeping up our directory. It's never going to be perfect,
Mm.
but it's going to be
Yeah.
better than
I'm-
what we have if you keep on building it. And remember, our goal was to over the course of, let's say, 4 or 5 years, really turn that into a pretty robust contact list. And
I
that
think-
maybe we can sort it when we're doing fundraising, or sort it when we're doing just a big communication, or sort it when we're seeking volunteers for something.
I think we need to put the names on the list, and in fact, we may have more than one list, with indications of how much we have dealt with them, or how much we have asked them, or how much we have gotten permission about things. In other words, have they signed on to a team, or are they somebody that we have listed as a potential consultant?
Mhm.
And if we have that kind of a checklist set up, then we wouldn't make mistakes of counting somebody that hasn't really signed on as if they had.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things we should do with that list, is have some columns and check marks as to what's put them on the list and how much they've been involved along the way, so that we know whether they're really committed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think we need someone to own it, because
Yeah.
I think that we're stretched pretty thin.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I know that Rebecca is capable of tracking it, because she's talked to me about, about just that issue.
Yes. That's
But
our Facebook book gal.
but still, she may not be able to make it more of a commitment than she already has. I don't
No.
know. In which case, we do need someone else to help her, or to direct it. The other little category I tried to track was funding. I revised the Highland Commons spreadsheet, because there was one part that I didn't have before. So that's as complete as I can make it, and that's in the Dropbox. Also, and we already talked about the fact that the society funding needs to be finished. I also put in the Dropbox a complete set of photos that Marty took.
I saw the photos in there. Yeah.
So it's a perimeter all around the building, because it's something that I had, and I figured I might as well put it in there, but we don't have any historic photographs in there yet.
Mhm.
So Barry, we need to do that.
And the other thing we should throw into the Dropbox too, I didn't see it, it could be there, is the proposals or reports we had for the foundation work and for lifting up the building.
Oh, I can do that.
I just think it's good that we keep everything in one
Yes,
place.
everything in that place too.
Right.
There's the 2 surveys by Walhuter. There's the preservation plan. I know you want to make it more compact, Barry, but we
Mhm.
could put it in as it is now.
No, that's all right.
And we have, is there any point to putting in that proposal that got us that 55K for from the mitigation?
It would be great if we could put it together again. The trouble is that I don't necessarily have it together as one thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe that's not helpful because we're approaching this in a much more
In a different
comprehensive
way.
way.
No, except for, I would imagine that there are things that have already been done in that, wording or narratives put together that would be useful in any other application without having to reinvent. So, but it could even be that it's not in there in its full form. It's just in there as a Word file that has captions or text that we could use.
Well, it also has things like the handicap restroom plan in it, and stuff like
Well,
that.
there you go.
Right, that's right. Okay, I'll get all those in there. If I don't have an electronic version, I'll have to lean on you, Barry, to see if you can get it up from
We'll see what we can do.
from your
Yeah.
from your old computer icon that's on your new computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That
you know
has
what else?
disappeared.
Also, June, I'll send you the PDF of what we scanned from the information Barry brought to our office. Because it's also
Oh,
should be in
yes.
the drop. It
Yes,
should also
okay.
be in there so everyone can use it.
Okay,
One of the other things that I do want to do in the project history, we had done 2 or 3 appeals, somewhat public appeals for contributions some years ago. And I want to indicate how many people participated in those, because
Mm.
we did have, there were 40 contributions or 38 contributions or whatever else that came in in that given time, and that money has been used over time on the project. But that's important because yeah, we do have some, we've got some record in that regard.
what about other kinds of fundraising that are more hands-on? Does anybody have an idea about that? What we could think about it?
Yeah,
I don't mean a bake sale, but
Yeah.
that's pretty low end, but
Depends on how big the bake sale is.
yeah, but an event that would promote interest and also have a gate, some kind of a gate.
well, one of the things that we've done over the years is the telephone book every other year, and published a local telephone book and got ads into it and so forth. And we made about $5,000 on that each time. And that's been a major part of the funding that we've had put into the house so far.
That's right.
Unfortunately, that one has probably come to its end. But every other year we were doing $5,000 on that particular project, and it was
Mhm.
dedicated to the house.
Right. Well, also I'm imagining, and this, could turn, maybe it would be a bust, but maybe it would be quite lucrative. Once we have a clear vision as to what's happening there, would we be precluded from doing a GoFundMe page?
No,
The town would be okay with that.
well, let's think about which hat you wear when you're doing it, and
Mhm.
who's going to hold the money.
Yeah, well,
But
Mhm.
the town, as soon as it's in the town coffers, it costs so much more to do anything.
Yeah.
If the society holds the money, they could do a lot of things in smaller, with less formalities attached to it,
Mhm.
legal formalities attached to it.
Right.
Um,
But it
so
just seems
those
like
are always considerations.
I can picture a graphic, having read the updates on the vision that speak about all the iterations of the building, when it was the inn, when it was the shop, when it held the fire. I could see a sort of a window pane graphic that has an image of each one of these iterations, and then using that as the branding for the Bullard House, inside, some graphic of the house itself, And then, that could be a little poster, or it could show up as a coaster, or it could, something that, could really get some legs.
That's good. A logo really is
The
what,
other,
yeah.
the
Well,
other
that-
thing,
Oh, go ahead.
the other big fundraiser, the biggest fundraiser we've ever done for the Bullet House was the Afghan. And we got a good $20,000 out of that ultimately, maybe more.
Was this like a big quilt?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of these computer generated knitted things. And
Oh, right.
we've talked about doing another one of those with, a different subject matter kind of thing. And that's something else to be considered, because it's now, that was originally done in '97. And while we've continued to sell them for some years thereafter, we're really at a point where we could do something original and new,
Mhm.
that would be, town-centered thing, but that would be for this project.
Right.
And
Barry, the other thing that Matt makes me think of is that at town meeting, which this fall could bring out a lot of people, I would think, with some of the issues. But at town meeting, they would sell the telephone books and so forth, and being able to even just distribute some information or whatever as people walk in, you'd catch a bunch of people, I would think, at this upcoming election.
Oh, election
I
day.
ho- I
On
tend to
election day,
hold,
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah.
tend to hold the view that doesn't, that town meeting is the best venue for that, because people are there for a different reason. And I don't mean you don't want information out or but you
don't know
really,
what's
people
running.
don't have time to stop and engage on that. Election day, we've done very well with stuff. It's having a sale there. And this time, this election, we finally get back to holding the election
Yeah.
in a normal fashion, so that the people are coming in and going out mostly through the same venue, and there's actually
Right.
a possibility of setting up. This primary is the first one we've held in a normal way in 3 years, so.
That's
Yeah,
what I meant,
also-
Barry. I meant to say election day, because I do
Yeah.
think I see people taking things on that day.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I'm imagining that the attendance at events, concerts, et cetera, that happen at Old Town Hall are also well attended. That's immediately next door. Seems like a
It-
great
it was-
opportunity to.
It
Most of,
has been, but that has been just down to nothing because of the pandemic, and
Yeah,
it really hasn't much come back.
Well,
Well,
It's
it's
working on it. It's working on it, but it's a ways to go.
private events certainly
Yeah.
have been held
Oh, yeah.
and have created a somewhat of a revenue stream, but.
yeah. And
public
I also
events
love
are good.
going to the schools and involving some of the youth in the town and in pride of place and history.
And they're within walking distance. They can take a
Right.
walking field trip up to. And even though we don't have the Bullard House up yet, we certainly have some other old buildings up that
Mhm.
would be part of that synergy that we talk about.
Right. Right. Folks, I'm gonna need to jump so that I
Oh,
can
sure.
eat a
Okay.
very quick lunch before a 1 o'clock meeting.
Okay,
But let's aim towards the next gathering being in person on the 28th. If there's something that comes up before that we need to do, we could certainly jump onto a virtual meeting. But then we can, with some emails, communicate beforehand.
I think we
Okay.
have quite a long to-do list right now, so
Yeah.
we'll be able to keep busy.
I'm gonna post that as an in-person site
Yeah.
visit.
Site visit, yeah.
But I'll post it for like with a lot of latitude, like 1:30 to 4 or.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Call it 1 to 4 even.
1 to 4,
Yeah,
okay.
we can adjust as needed. All right, I'll jump off, but you folks please stay on. Good to
Okay.
see everyone.
Thank you, Dan, for
Dan, if you
fitting us
don't-
in.
If you don't,
Bet.
if you don't have time to eat on that day, we'll feed you. Just tell us.
Thank
'Cause
you.
We all got to eat.
Thanks.
Okay,
All right, take care.
all righty.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
You're
bye-bye.
welcome.
Okay, it's 12:32, which is about an hour, a little less than an hour from when we started with Dan. If we could, I think I'd be satisfied if we just together made a little action item list so that I don't forget anything.
And then, June, what I was thinking, I think I wrote this in an email to you that you would not have had time to read yet. but, you know, to give us assignments, which you've done. But I would say when we get this action list going, because I do much better if I know exactly what I'm being held responsible for. And, if we can
Okay.
do that, I think it'd be more likely to get them done, you know.
Okay, now he didn't address your timeline that you roughed out. This, did he?
Which
mean, that-
timeline are you talking about now? The
The grant.
Well, I didn't bring any of those things up that I had on that list, only because I had a sense that this wasn't the
Yeah.
best time to do
Okay.
that. But yeah,
Do you want to
well-
do anything further with that?
Well,
Or
let
or
me
do you
just-
I
think
would
there's-
suggest the key thing there is to see how that plugs into the checklist thing you have in your hand there that he did. The big chart.
oh, how June's list plugs in. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
right.
how your list for the grant plugs into that. And
Oh,
see
my
what-
list for the grant. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we can do that. You know, I've come to the conclusion, which you guys knew all along, that I need to cool my jets a little on worrying that we're not getting started on stuff early enough. Because as I started to think about the fact, and this is what helped me relax a little, that we have been without a town administrator who and poor you know, June, the other June, has been trying to juggle all of this stuff. That some of my personal questions probably are more like town administrator questions, actually, and just trying to figure out, you know, the procurement, for example. Like I'm thinking about Dan, you know, or I'm thinking about a different architect if that's who wants to have the job. You know, that's really a procurement question that I think the town administrator could probably help me with.
Well,
know?
are you worried about the timing of it? I mean,
I-
she'll do
yeah.
all the nuts and bolts of the
Yeah.
actual
No, I'm
procurement.
worried about the timing of it too.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes I look at the schedule for the grant and I think, my gosh, this isn't going to take us 2 years to finally get to the very end of it. And then other times I think, gee, are we supposed to be getting started with something? So that's where I think if you know, somebody who's good with grants can just sit down and say, okay, so this is what I would see as the grant timeline, and this is what you have to do through us, through the town, or through the state, and this is what you have to do through the historical commission. You know,
When-
those are the kinds of things that I just don't want it to get.
Well, we've got
biased.
a new town administrator that's just starting out again.
Yes,
She is experienced,
yes,
but we need to give her time to get acclimated to the town.
yeah.
And June, you said you've already got an appointment to talk to her.
I
And,
do. My appointment's on the 23rd.
and you can
Yeah.
say a little bit about what we are now currently doing and so forth. But at the same time, we don't want to try to grab all her time too quickly. But at the same time, we need to make sure she knows we're there and we're working on it, and that we're going to be grabbing some of her time in order to do this.
Yeah. And my sense is that Margaret will probably work with her for a little bit too before they, you know, I mean, that would make complete sense that they would have communication and where they left off and so forth.
Well, Margaret is, as far as I know, going to be continuing some on a consulting basis for a
Yes.
bit. But exactly what that's going to be with the new person now in place
Well, I think
remains to be seen.
and it
and,
depends on what the new person wants, you know.
Okay.
Really.
Well, we need to get to our action list here. The
Yeah.
one thing, the most important thing is, are we ready to present to the select board? Because they are waiting on us to give them an understanding of this master planning and how this works. And I think the first available date for that would be the 26th. Whether they
Yeah.
could fit us in then, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'd like
Uh,
to do it.
We are still trying to figure out the funding for this. And we've got to get them on board because we're assumedly hoping to use the funding from the mitigation money. So that's the big thing, is that we do need to do that sooner rather than later
When you
Okay,
say the funding for this, what are we referencing?
for the master planning process.
Oh, for the master planning process.
well, I'm wondering if that comes under the umbrella of architectural services that our CPA is providing, CPA funding has provided us. That is the question that I framed a communication with June Poland in that way,
Mhm.
Okay,
so that we can keep our $11,000 for
other
some
work.
other work. Now, I don't know what will come of that, but Dan did say that he would try to get me a more structured agreement that I can give her. But I've explained it to her as best I can. I've given her Margaret's email that said he could bill us on an hourly basis.
Mhm.
I've given her everything that I've got and asked her if we can proceed in the same way that we've proceeded with the other CPA funded project, which is what we've just been doing with the artifacts and
Okay, yeah.
and-
I think I think you're correct, except at this point, I think we need to put that in front of the new town administrator.
yes,
I think
And,
Kristen
and
is
that
the right-
person is going to be able to handle this a lot more, what's the word I want? Quickly and efficiently
Yeah.
than June probably can.
yes,
I
yes,
agree
she's
with that,
overloaded.
yeah. And
But
and
I-
I think, by the
I
way, I
have-
think her name is Kristen, isn't it? Kristen?
Kristen,
Yeah,
yes.
we can speak to her by name. I always
Now
start saying the
yeah,
new person.
now I can't remember her last name.
Yeah, that's all right.
I had it, but Ruben, is that right?
I'm not sure, but.
Well,
we'll
anyway,
learn it.
so- So I don't know if we'll have time tomorrow, but we do need to put our presentation together at least. I mean,
Sure,
it doesn't have to be, like a PowerPoint thing or anything that formal, but we do need to have the points that we want to address for them. Do you want me to ask about September 26th, or just ask them when is the first opportunity?
well, I would prefer it not be before that date, because we may need time to prepare.
All right, so
just to
September,
make sure it's,
no earlier than September 26th then. Okay,
Now, that was one of the dates that Mary Reddington mentioned in regard to the Hearst House thing with the select board.
yeah, maybe
So-
they'd want to do both of us,
Oh,
Get
maybe.
us-
I'm,
but maybe not.
well,
Yeah,
it's a piece for me is it's a concern is I'm going to walk into one as the president of the Historical Society and the other as the Historical Commissioner. And
yeah.
I want to make sure that that isn't too confused.
Well, she gave them a choice of the 26th or October 5th.
Yeah.
well, either one, I mean, there's hardly a difference.
Well, maybe we could just hold off a tiny bit and see if they nail that down. And then we'll ask for the other.
Well, we could. I mean, maybe it can be the same. In the old days, when you were going into the room and sitting there, it would have been easy enough to do them both and have them separated. But
Yeah.
it's so hard to deal with this thing when it's all online.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah,
I'm sick of it.
yeah, well, it is. It's harder for us, for
But
sure.
I will sit there and change my name if I can.
So the other action items, I have got to put into the Dropbox all the documents that I haven't put in yet. And I'll make a list of those. I'm pretty sure, I'm even gonna put the National Register document in there, I think. Do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's valid.
Yeah,
It's big.
it's
I don't know.
big.
Have you got it as a as an
well,
electronic file?
You just, I think you take the link off Macris. I think you can do that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
can anyway.
okay, yeah.
So the vision, we have to nail down our vision and find out what we need to just final, even if it isn't final, that is on his workflow sheet. And finalizing the vision is coming right up. Where is that?
Well, that's the biggest thing right now is what addition we've got and what's been put into it and what hasn't.
It's in the Dropbox.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
You guys should access it because I'm looking at the Dropbox and it looks like I'm the only one, maybe besides Dan, who's looked at it.
How do you know we haven't looked at it? Because I've looked at it.
Have you looked at it?
Yeah.
I think
I
it will,
have.
well, I think what it will show me is if anybody edited anything, perhaps
Well,
that.
no, I haven't
Oh,
made
yeah.
any changes, I don't
Okay.
think.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've
All right.
definitely been looking at it.
Well, I hate to have too many meetings because it's just exhausting.
Me too, because I'm writing so many. I have 6 minutes to bring
This is
to you guys.
this is a 7-day week, work
Yeah.
week for the historical commission.
Yes, it is. It is a 7-day. Hey, well, I don't want to get you off track. But I did want to ask a couple things, so.
Well, do you think we could all look at the vision for tomorrow and cite any problems that we see?
Okay.
Or do you want to wait? It would be
Well,
a
we've
simple,
looked at it so much, I think we'll just be able to practically glance at it. I mean, haven't we looked at it over and over again? And-
Well, yes, the problem is that we were doing this and we were doing this and
Yeah.
this, we did this paragraph and I did
Yeah.
that paragraph.
Maybe
And the
look at
question is, have we gotten all of those together in there or not?
they're in the Dropbox. I put it all together, except for what I was lacking from you, and I can't even remember what that was now.
And you know, the nice thing is that the vision statement can be revised as we go along. It's our statement, so.
Well, he does want us to finalize it, at least, I mean,
For
nothing.
now, for
Yeah,
now.
for now, and that needs to be part of our presentation to the select
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why I'd like to get that.
Mhm.
Well, we can just read it together tomorrow.
Yeah.
we need to, yeah.
And that would be good for Ellie too. I'm hoping that
Yeah.
she will attend if she can.
You've invited her? I mean, you've told her?
Yes, I did.
Good,
Yeah,
good, good.
yeah, but I'll remind her. Because I have her email now. Her email, by the way, is Eleanor Bergen, all together
Mhm.
at, wait a minute, it's on my phone. If there's a last, in the contact, if there's a last name, it's under the last name. That's her cell phone. Well, maybe I didn't.
Well, you can send it to us if you find
Yeah,
it.
I'll send
Yeah.
it to you.
Yeah.
Or she'll give it to us tomorrow too, if she comes. Okay, so the vision needs to be done as best we can. Let's put it that way. I need to drop documents in the Dropbox. We need to work towards that presentation to the select board.
And they may want some time for questions too, so I don't think it has to be extremely lengthy, you know?
The
Oh,
contact.
no.
Yeah.
It
Janet,
just,
when you talk about database, you're not talking about our little contact list that's on the, in
Yeah.
the Dropbox?
Yes,
Is that
I
what you're talking? Because that's a private list. I don't think we need, I don't think that's a subject to anybody else's scrutiny, except the people whose emails are attached to the Dropbox. So,
And so the Dropbox is a pretty secure thing.
well,
reasonably,
Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't, yeah.
so
it's not a
I,
public
What
file.
were you thinking, when you hear database, our database, what are you thinking, if not that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean, to me, the contact list, it's not really a database. It's really just a spreadsheet.
Okay.
A database is a lot more versatile, and my familiarity with Excel is pretty limited.
Well, we were
Um,
talking with Dan about having the names of people, and he gave us like about four categories of what the people. They might be funders, they might be fundraisers, they might be, and there were about 4 things he mentioned that would go into the
On that
database,
list.
the contact list. But would be done as a database. So when you wanted to have volunteers for cooking, I mean, I'm just pulling that out. That's a silly one, but you know what I mean? You can do that. And that's where the database thing comes in, I think.
I don't know how to sort
Yeah,
in Excel. That I can't, someone's gonna have to show us how to do that.
right.
But I
Or we're
did,
going to have to, you know,
but
either,
yeah, because I didn't know how to, because I don't know how to sort, I didn't change the original contact list, which is alphabetical by company or person.
yeah, yeah,
What I did was make a new spreadsheet with categories.
yeah.
Um,
So you're
So-
basically doing it.
but it's not filled in. I just didn't have time
Yeah.
to transfer all those individuals and companies into
Right,
those
right.
categories. But that
I
needs to
think-
be done.
Yeah, and I think the advantage of having it in a database is it's much easier to retrieve, you know, one type of volunteer because it's been
Mhm.
set up that way. And so the retrieval for
Yeah, I
specific
think-
tasks is
I
easier.
think,
We may
I'm
not
used
want
to
to worry
doing,
about
I'm used to
that.
doing that if you use a word table and sorting in that situation, but I'm not used to sorting in Excel.
But I don't know that we need to bog ourselves down too much with the expertise of how, you know, I think if we get all the information and then over time we can insert it into whatever, or we could hire someone to do that for a couple of days, you know, to sit and just insert it all into a database. I think we have enough on our plate right now without getting fancy.
Yeah, well, it's
That's for the
the
future.
Microsoft database is Access. It's called Access,
Mhm.
and that sorts. And I don't have a familiarity with that.
So I'd say that's something that is
And,
to be
and
learned
maybe,
later.
and that may even be outdated, and James would know if that's
And
totally
I think James,
outdated.
we could twist his arm to help us with some of this too.
Yeah.
Especially in the winter when he's supposed to be not having to work quite so hard. He's working like a dog right now. He's just really,
Is there
But,
someone who would, Janet, maybe this might be something you'd like to do. Would you like to would you like to help me with a History Matters presentation about the Bullard House and what we're trying to accomplish with the master
Sure.
plan?
sure.
And if Barry would not have to have a huge commitment towards it, but certainly be there, that would be,
And
that would be-
like an hour-long program type thing. Is that? what
yeah,
that-
yeah, or, yeah. And if we don't want it to be that long, it doesn't have to be, because I can
And
make,
just
I
for
can make
the-
the rules.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
this is for a History Matters thing? It's not the
Yeah,
one. we're
it's a
talking-
way, it's a way to have an in-person informational session that
We might wanna-
older people can go to, that anyone can go to
Mhm.
who's not at work. I mean, this is pretty much for
Mhm.
people who aren't working because it's in the daytime. Not that we couldn't have it at night, because if you
Mhm.
want to do that, I can change it.
Mhm.
But it's about public information.
Yeah,
That's
public
right.
About getting
information.
more people involved, and therefore, you know, they're more, hopefully more receptive over time to your message.
Yeah.
And I would say we need to be good to ourselves and make sure we're not cutting off more than we can chew every time we get together. And it might be that putting that program together would come after we feel secure about what we're going to present to the select board, and not
That's-
try to do those things at the same time.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
So-
mean, we're very, we're idea people, and we're very industrious, and we come up with these, ideas for, oh, that would be great. But I think, being sensible we are all in our 70s. Now the whole town knows that. And I think we have to, be sensible about how much we try to do
Oh,
it
yeah.
at a given
Yeah.
time.
Because that,
Yeah.
just what Barry and I did to get ready for
Yeah.
that photographer, I mean, that was a
Yeah.
lot, that was a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And I was having to shift my focus to the farm. So, I
oh, yeah.
couldn't be
Well,
there.
it shouldn't monopolize more than two of us. It should,
Yes, yes.
anyway.
But-
But it did,
Yeah.
just a
did.
review of,
Everything's going to take longer. So I don't think, we're psyched about this and we want to move it along. And so we just are going to have to, pull in the reins a little bit on ourselves if we feel like it's
it's
too
very
much to
tight.
pile on and
It's
too many
very
layers
tight,
at the
yeah.
moment. Yeah.
So perhaps that's another good reason for a History Matters presentation, because it's small, but that's another pool of people who might volunteer and want to help
Yes.
us.
Well, and if we were able to do something with the material that we create that would be on video, there would be more opportunities to spread it around as well.
Well,
I
they'll
always-
come
I always
and
feel
film
that
us if we want to do that.
Yeah,
The cable will come.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I always forget about that.
Mhm. Yeah, cable will come and do those
Sure.
programs and put them up online.
Sure. Yeah, and so that, and to be honest, if we do the presentation for the select board first, even if it's just an in-person, Zoom one, we may be able to use a lot of that for this other thing that we're preparing. So,
The structure of it anyway.
yeah, or
If it goes well. If it
but if
doesn't
we're
go
trying
well,
to-
we'll invent something else.
right, but if we're trying to explain the progress, what we're doing and the progress we're making, that's the same thing we're going to be trying to do for the History Matters, but it'll just look different and feel different in tone because we're not talking to the
Yeah,
select
and
board.
there are and people that go to History Matters will not be looking at the select board meeting.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
I am helping some people from out of town with some logistics for a graveside funeral service at 2:00.
Okay,
And I really need to be relieved of this one.
We
So,
Yeah.
can close now. We're getting together again tomorrow, aren't we?
yes,
Yep,
we
yep.
are.
and I've got, the action list is pretty good, so
Yeah.
we're good with that. Yeah,
And
10
I'm all
o'clock,
for
10 o'clock tomorrow morning in person at the town offices.
that's
10
right.
o'clock tomorrow in person,
Yeah.
town offices. I'll be there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
Okay.
And
And
what
that's
time is it?
Oh, we
I,
have to have, yes,
Oh,
Janet? Just
yeah,
vote.
yes. Am I voting
Yes,
on that?
yes,
Yes,
yes.
I will.
June, aye. Motion adjourned.